Hey yo, what's up with it, man? This your boy E Love. Coming to you right now. I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. I'm really, really, really angry. I swear to God, I'm angry. I'm mad at all of the businesses and all of the scammers on YouTube. Like my ass ain't never been a scammer, right? But like I'm so angry, and the thing that popped up into my head was I've been wanting to tell people about my homeboy David. Yes, my homeboy David, the one that's after God's own heart. Man, that was after God's own heart. Yeah, that's one of my favorite people in the Bible, besides Jesus, right? Besides Jesus. Thank you very much. So anyway, so through my anger, it just hit me. I said I want to be more about God. I want to be about Jesus, and I'm talking about burning all these businesses down. But then it hit me, why not be about God? So I've been wanting to tell the story of David and Goliath because a lot of people don't know the story of David and Goliath. David killed Goliath with his own sword, with Goliath's own sword, and he chopped his head off. Real talk. David chopped off Goliath's head. And how nobody know that? But you have to read it, so we're going to read it. So welcome to the Church of the Love, okay? You're coming to the Love Church today. This is what we're going to do. This is my first sermon, all right? And we're going through David and Goliath. Listen up for when he chopped his head off. But listen how he chopped his head off. Listen how David comes. You got to listen to it, all right? Love y'all. Check it out.
1 Samuel 17. Now the Philistines gathered their forces for war and assembled at Socoh in Judah. They pitched camp at Ephes Dammim, between Socoh and Azekah. Saul and the Israelites assembled and camped in the valley of Elah, and drew up their battle line to meet the Philistines. The Philistines occupied one hill, and the Israelites another, with the valley between them.
Now watch
A
this.
champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went ahead of him. Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of...
Now watch. I'm gonna try to have ChatGPT make a picture. Check. All right, y'all. I use GPT to do some visualizations of what he would have looked like, Goliath. So this is what they came up with. Hold on, let me see that. Yeah, there we go. And I asked him about the future too. It's that's the future. This is some more. This is what David would have been standing against a giant. That's modern day. Oh, go back. Modern day. But basically, that's what it would have been.
Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? And are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects.
Okay.
But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us."
Then he gonna get disrespectful.
Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel.
Nigga, what?
Give me a man and let us fight each other." On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified.
Now watch this. Check this out. Now check this out. This is my boy David. Yeah.
Son of an Ephrathite named Jesse, who was from Bethlehem in Judah. Jesse had 8 sons, and in Saul's time he was very old. Jesse's 3 oldest sons had followed Saul to the war. The firstborn was Eliab, the second Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 oldest followed Saul, But David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. For 40 days the Philistine came forward every morning and evening and took his stand.
Nigga, what? 40 days?
Now Jesse said to his son David, "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers, and hurry to their camp. Take along these 10 cheeses to the commander of their unit. See how your brothers are, and bring back some assurance from them. They are with Saul and all the men of Israel in the valley of Elah, fighting against the Philistines." Early in the
Now watch how his brothers do him. They so raw. Watch this. But watch how he stand up though. My nigga David gonna be like, what? What the hell? Who the hell is this nigga out here shouting?
morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up, and set out as Jesse had directed. He reached the camp as the army was going out to its battle positions, shouting the war cry. Israel and the Philistines were drawing up their lines facing each other. David left his things with the keeper of supplies, ran to the battle lines, and asked his brothers how they were. As he was
Now he just asking his brothers how they doing, like his father told him to do. That's all he doing.
talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance, and David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, they all fled from him in great fear.
Now watch David. You gotta remember, David's still a boy, all right?
Now the Israelites had been saying, "Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage, and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel."
All I want to know is, do she twerk? Evidently she do, because he gonna come up, so she must have been twerking in them days.
David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?"
Yeah. Who is he? This nigga.
They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, "This is what will be done for the man who kills him."
Watch this.
When Eliab, David's oldest
Watch these busters.
brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness?"
I would have been like, nigga, daddy told me to bring that shit up here for you, nigga.
I know how
But you up here letting this nigga talk about God's army. What the fuck is your antennas, nigga?
conceited you are, and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle. Now what have I done?
Came down
said
to fight,
David.
nigga.
Can't I even speak? He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter. And
Damn. I never noticed that. That nigga didn't even entertain that. That nigga was like, let me what have I done? Let me go.
the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul.
Now watch this though. Watch this shit. This shit is crazy.
And Saul sent for him. David said to Saul,
Oh, well, you have to keep in mind that a little before this, Saul used to come over, used to have a spirit come over him, and David used to come by and sing him songs and would relieve him of the spirit. So that happened. That was before this. So that's why he knew who David was, and he knew that God was with David. And I will, go through that. I just want to jump it off with this, but I will go into the story. Well, we'll do the story next, probably, of Saul and David and stuff like that. I just wanted to jump it off with David and Goliath.
"Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight him." Saul replied, "You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth."
But watch what he say, though. Watch what he say.
But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock,
What happened?
I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it.
But watch this. Watch this shit.
Your servant has killed both the lion and the bear. This uncircumcised Philistine
This nigga
will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God.
What?
The Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion
Amen.
and the paw of the bear
Amen.
will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine.
This nigga.
Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Then Saul dressed David in his own tunic. He put a coat
He gonna be like, take this shit up off me. No, I gotta take the knee because I got a bob and I got a weave. No, I got a jab. I got a jab.
of armor on him and a bronze helmet on his head. David fastened on his sword over the tunic and tried walking around because he was not used to them. "I cannot go in these," he said to Saul,
I can't go in these. Nigga, I got a bob and I got a weave.
"because I'm not used to them." So he took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag,
What?
and with his sling in his hand, approached the Philistine.
I just had to go back to the representation because that's what he was going out there to fight. And you heard what the hell he took. All right, back to it.
Meanwhile, the Philistine, with his shield bearer in front of him,
Remember?
kept coming closer to David. He looked David over and saw that he was little more than a boy, glowing with health and handsome, and he despised him. He said to David, "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. "Come here," he said, "and I'll give your flesh to the birds and the wild animals." David said to the Philistine, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin,
But when I come,
but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied."
now watch this, okay? Listen to this because, everybody forget to tell his shit in church. What he said.
"This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This
What?
very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals.
Why they don't say that in
And
church?
the whole world will know that there is a God in
Yes,
Israel.
it is.
All those gathered here will know
What?
that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves.
Wow.
For the battle is the Lord's,
Come on.
and he will give all of you
What?
into our hands.
Why is that never told in church? I think that should be on the mantle. Like, come on now.
This day the Lord will deliver. David said to the Philistine,
Listen to this.
"You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and I'll strike you down and cut off your head. This very day I will give the carcasses of the Philistine army to the birds and the wild animals.
Damn right.
And the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel.
Yeah.
All those gathered here will know that it is not by sword or spear that the Lord saves. But the battle is the Lord's, and he will give all of you into our hands."
Why they don't say that shit in church, bro? We're going to say it at the Church of Love. At the Church of the Love, you're going to hear it. It's the truth. You say it, bro. Read it. Read it. Chapter 17. Look it up in Bible. Sorry, y'all. But it ain't over. It ain't over. It ain't over. That's when the choir gonna come in. It ain't over.
As the Philistine moved closer to attack him, David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet him. Reaching into his bag and taking out a stone, he slung it and struck the Philistine on the forehead.
Yeah, that's
The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face down on the ground.
Okay, Pastor, is this true? You need to go ask your pastor. Pastor, why you ain't never talking about this in the church? Why you ain't never told me this in church?
So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. Without a sword in his hand, he struck down the Philistine and killed him. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword.
Wait.
David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance gates of Ekron.
My bad.
Their dead were strewn
So
along
after
the
he killed
Sharaim.
them,
David ran and stood over
killed
him.
them,
He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword.
Oh, my bad, y'all.
When the Philistines saw that their hero was dead,
learn something new every
they
day.
turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah surged forward with a shout and pursued the Philistines to the entrance of Gath and to the gates of Ekron.
What
Their
happened?
dead were strewn along the Sharaim road to Gath and Ekron. When the Israelites returned from chasing the Philistines, they plundered their camp. David took the Philistines' head and brought it to Jerusalem. He put the Philistines' weapons in his own tent. As Saul watched David going out to meet the Philistine, he said to Abner, commander of the army, "Abner, whose son is that young man?"
Jesse.
Abner replied, "As surely
Jesse.
as you live, your majesty,
Jesse's
I don't
son.
know."
That's
The king
Jesse's
said,
son.
"Find out whose son this young man is."
Jesse.
As soon as David returned from killing
Benjamin.
the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with David still holding the Philistine's head.
Why you still got that
"Whose
nigga
son are
head,
you, young
David?
man?" Saul asked him. David said, "I am the son of your servant Jesse of Bethlehem."
All right, y'all. Was gonna leave you out here, but I can't because it gets good. Watch this. Check it out.
1 Samuel 18. After David had finished talking with Saul, Jonathan became one in spirit with David, and he loved.
Oh, that nigga Jonathan. Jonathan? Now, it's a lot of stuff surfacing about Jonathan and David. I don't know. But Jonathan was his boy. Jonathan was so... We'll get into all that, but check this out.
Loved him as himself. From that day, Saul kept David with him and did not let him return home to his family. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as himself.
Boy.
Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic.